So much to talk about. You done your homework? You lazy shit. I like that. I like that. We should see more of that.
Had you heard that one before?
No.
I think we're ready to get on with it, Dennis. Let's dig in. You're live from the ballot counting room floor.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in tonight.
Yes.
Buttoning your shirt all the way up.
The ballots
so you
cast. The numbers are quite surprising results. And I gotta say that this is what I predicted. The people on the news this morning would say. Number one, the polls are wrong. Number two, the pundits were wrong.
Right.
Number three, the quality of candidates matter. And damn, if
aren't those tautologically true? Aren't those always true? Aren't the polls always wrong?
I don't remember them.
And the pundits as well.
I forgot them already. What was the first one?
Polls.
No. That's not the case at all. Not the case at all.
Sure feels like
many years the polls were very accurate, and they're unable, like an evaluation of I've talked about this before. When you're evaluating a system,
right,
and wondering whether the system works, the question is how many moving parts, and somebody says, well, 65 moving parts, and we're going to evaluate the impact of the system. And the first question the researchers ask is, so of the 65 things, which one or two do you think matter most? Because that's what we'll evaluate. We can evaluate one thing at a time. We can probably have time for a couple. Right. And the answer is that doesn't work. They're interactive. It isn't. You can't separate one from the other.
It's multivariant.
If it's working, who gives a fuck? Just talk about the change of outcomes. You don't have to have cause.
If the machine is working
to the finite variable. But anyway,
yeah.
This is what's happened here.
And like the pollsters know to correct the polls because it's like if you take a measurement of something every morning, and it turns out that you're actually a few degrees wrong consistently, then you know that the next time you take that measurement, you need to adjust it a few degrees to get what you imagine the actual truth to be.
Right.
And the pollsters all know to skew things, or to fix what they imagine are the inherent biases of their polls, like the fact that if you're calling people on landlines to ask them who they're going to vote for, you're not going to get a lot of the under 30 crowd.
Well, the more general view is that it's just not representative.
Right, exactly.
And including but not limited to, of course, young people. But in this case, much to your point, one of the more surprising aspects of the election that turned out great numbers once again and broke last election's numbers, which broke all records up to then. So once again, Democrats out in droves, and this time, young people. And those young people will not be fooled by commercials that said crime is terrible. They're like, well, I don't really see that. The inflation thing is a big deal, but they know because everybody's told them.
Jesus.
Holy shit. My calendar fell off my shelf. Everybody's told them, and they believe it based on their own observation because they're plugged in. They know more about the news than any generation. They know that, in fact, democracy was at stake.
Yep.
So they turned out in numbers, and they realized Hillary Clinton lost Michigan by exactly two votes for every precinct in the state.
Wow.
So grab 3 people, grab 10 people, and I did 3 twice. I think I ended up with 5 people that I talked to. And
You grabbed 5
gave
people?
ballots to, and all that.
Was it consensual?
What's that?
Was it consensual when you grabbed these people?
Yes, it was. And so anyway, the outcome, of course, is that Fetterman wins Pennsylvania early in the night. Nobody would have predicted Pennsylvania's going to take weeks to figure it out. No, new Democratic governor of Pennsylvania, new senator, who's a dude, man, Fetterman. I mean, how awful is Oz, Dr. Oz, if a dude who suffers a stroke and has trouble speaking during the debate ends up winning by a sizable margin with Oprah Winfrey
Right.
in his camp. And there was this young skinny dude named Barack Obama who came to see the people in Pennsylvania.
Nice.
And so but here's the thing is that there were 210 candidates that were running who were deniers. And not to act like it was just Democrats overpowered the predictions by a margin, but they're still going to lose the House. And out of the 210 people that have been called, who were the races that have been called, who are deniers, 150 of them won.
Ugh.
And 60 lost. So more than double the number won who lost. So people are giving Trump a postmortem, and Ron DeSantis, who is the man of the hour because he delivered Florida in a margin that's been unheard of in modern political history. He got Latino vote. He got the African-American vote. He got women vote. He got young people. It was a landslide. Every single state office in Florida now is run by a Republican. Every one. Not a Democrat amongst the bunch.
What could go wrong?
And so, as Trump called him, Ron DeSanctimonious, and apparently Trump is furious about all the attention that DeSantis is getting, where the people who Trump endorsed, particularly some of the big ones, with the exception of J.D. Vance, the author who wrote Hillbilly Elegy, I guess you say it.
Well, if you're a hillbilly, maybe you say elegy.
It's something, but I heard the people say.
So what happened with the Vance?
He's lazy. That he doesn't want to work. He hardly wanted a campaign. But at any rate, he won, which is notable. But a lot of the other notable ones did not. And one of the things that Lindsey Graham said today, quotable quoted this morning, of course, he knew it would blast everywhere. Well, it certainly wasn't a Republican wave. And they're calling it a Republican trickle. But the downside is you got 150 people in Congress who are deniers. That's a lot of people. The House is going to go to the Republicans. The Senate, they probably are going to end up with a 2-person majority, including Kamala Harris as vice president for tiebreakers. Because Fetterman won, and the one race that everybody was saying, once again, it's Georgia. It's Warnock, the current senator, and, oh man, Herschel Walker. The reason that there's pollution is because the air in China moved over here, and our air, there was no room for our air, so our air went over there where they have our air and we have their air, and that's probably what caused COVID.
What the what?
Herschel Walker.
He needs to be.
That's going to be a runoff.
In the highest office of the land.
In Georgia, you got to have 50%, or you got to have a runoff. And some asshole third-party candidate got 2.1%. I don't know, 45,000 votes, which of course would have put Warnock, or either one of them for that matter, over the edge. But you can bet that if somebody voted for a third-party candidate who's more libertarian-minded, that they certainly aren't going to vote for a Republican in the re-up on December 6th. Warnock won more votes. He's up by 6 points. It just isn't enough. He didn't have a plurality.
Right.
So that means that's going to go.
I
Now
think
with
it's
Fetterman, per allergy.
Well,
Anyway,
what an exciting week. So are the deniers that lost going to accept that they're lost? I mean, isn't the whole point of being an election
many
denier
probably
so that
not. I
you?
mean, there were 100 lawsuits filed in some of the key states before the election, and including some efforts to stop the election or to extend it. All many of which didn't have favorable court decisions, but most of which are still pending. And so, when
Sounds like Christmas for constitutional lawyers.
well, except that the deniers actually have a hard time finding lawyers, because if the stuff that the deniers say are put into a court document, that means that they're liable to determine whether or not it's truthful or not. You can say anything you want in your First Amendment, but when it comes to law, if you're defaming or you're fraudulent, you're in trouble with the law. And so when Trump filed his papers for some of his court cases, they didn't repeat his lies.
Right.
And it was notable, like what Trump is saying. They didn't say that. Reason is because they know it's a fucking lie.
Is that why you refuse to do this podcast under oath?
There's a release from Mother Jones that is worth a minute of your time, and it is up till now, up till last week, unavailable video recording of Trump at a deposition about his crooked fucking university, and he takes the fifth 400 sometimes, and it's so tedious, though. I mean, but the looks that he makes and the pouting and the stuff, it was like, did you not know you were being filmed, you fool?
I have found this document. It's from September 18th, 2020.
Really?
Yeah. And it's
but recently released, though.
No. I mean, I think that's when this article was released.
Well, this was just on my feed too, like last week.
It's certainly a bunch of pouty Trump with video stuff in it. Hold on, maybe there's a newer one. 2021, 2020. No. Well,
Mother Jones. Anyway, it's
I'll link
probably
to
not
it.
the only one where he's pouting and carrying on. And I'm not sure where we're going with all that, but the legal maneuverings, what the pundits are saying, and now they're informed by the election, so they're a little smarter now than they were before. Now they know, and now they say, well, what happened? Why did we get it wrong? And one of the reasons they got it wrong is because there were so many young voters. They didn't count on that. And, of course, the polling didn't reflect them.
Right, exactly. What my point from before is it's hard to poll young voters because unless you're on TikTok, having them swipe left or right on a candidate, like how do you get at their
how do you get their attention? And Barack Obama got their attention. His the hit on his video is in the millions, and you imagine that people the rumor got around. Oh, you see that Barack Obama? It's funny. He's funny.
Yeah, you were talking about that last week.
And you should see the corner shot he makes in the opening. You should see the corner shot. And as a woman yelled out to him at one of his rallies, "You're so fine," and he turned it into a thing, and he said, "There we go." He said, and he looked at the crowd and he said, "She's right." to
Damn.
thunderous applause. And as people said in comments,
How can you be that cool? I mean,
commented, he's joyful.
right.
He's not a buzzkill. He's joyful, and it made a difference. And so, but not to say it certainly wasn't like the worst of the worst where they turned over 63 seats and in the House and
Right.
12 in the Senate or whatever, 1996 or whenever. But still, at the end of the day, the House is now Kevin McCarthy is likely to be the Speaker of the House. There's already been 7 resolutions filed to impeach Biden. It's in campaign promises. The deniers are going to push it. The House can pass a resolution now with a majority, and it's going to happen.
Right.
It's going to happen. Biden will be impeached in the House.
On what charges?
The Senate, controlled by the Democrats, will respond, and he'll be found innocent. But or they won't. Found innocent. That's the way to say
What
it.
What are the reasons for impeachment?
Charges?
Yeah, just
one
being a liberal.
There are many, but one that you can instantly recognize as reasonable is the way that he managed Afghanistan in the pullout. And lives at risk and people dead, and it ended up with arms, many arms in the company of the enemy, and that.
Oh, okay, but are mistakes impeachable offenses?
Well, there's it's not a court of law where you have to show intent.
Right.
If anyone can quote a law, a resolution, or a standing of some kind that basically says that, listen, you can't, when you make decisions that end up with people dead, and you were advised not to do that, and you didn't come to Congress, you just did it on your own, there are consequences. And it's legitimate for the House to raise those consequences, and it's certainly legitimate for the majority to say, we think this rises to the case of impeachment. In today's world,
right,
impeachment was 2 or 3 times, but it's been invoked again and again and again in most modern history, more times than anyone knows. Because a lot of the old and back in the day,
is it just going to be a given now that if the opposition party holds, you're going to be impeached?
Yes, it's the new normal. The history of this is you hearken back to the Civil War, where there was a boundary to defend. Here, there's no boundary. Here, it's ideological. And it's philosophical. And it actually makes me think, because the other thing that first is a premise to what I think is another point is that what the pundits got wrong was independence. Independents came out in droves and said, you know what? I'm going to vote Republican when it makes sense, and when it isn't, I'm not going to vote Republican. I'll either withhold my vote or I'll vote for a Democrat. Georgia being a case where Brian Kemp, engaged in the big lie and withstood the big lie as governor and said, I'm glad that Raffensperger, my Secretary of State, stood his ground. Raffensperger was soundly reelected a Republican, and the governor soundly reelected double digits against Stacey Abrams, African-American woman, wonderful speechifier, without a lot of government experience, and I certainly supported her, and one of the few candidates I actually sent money to. But she lost in double digits in the same state, on the same ticket. Right. Is Herschel Walker running against Senator Warnock, who's a well-spoken minister who served in Congress for 2 years quite admirably, very intelligent, very kind, very honest, and Herschel Walker, an anti-abortion candidate, who, it comes to find out, 2 women came forward and said, he paid for my abortions, and a third woman said, he tried to make me get an abortion. And they had the receipts, canceled checks, a get well card. Hope you're feeling better. In spite of all that, but here's my point, then I'll stop. While the governor ran double digits, Herschel Walker is behind. That's because discerning independents and discerning Republicans said, I'm splitting my ticket. I'm not going straight Republican because I'm not going to vote for Herschel Walker. And now that forces a runoff. And in that runoff, the Republicans are going to say, I didn't vote, the independents, I didn't vote from the first time. I'm certainly going to vote from now.
Right.
And the third party candidate's out of the picture. That's some 45,000 votes. And the only thing that can happen to Walker, Herschel Walker, is bad. More women will come out. More things will come out. And Trump, who has not shown his face in Georgia because his negatives in Georgia are higher than almost any other state, because of Raffensperger and Kemp, who said, fuck this, we're not going to let you overturn. No, we're not going to find 11,180 votes.
Yep.
Fuck you.
Famously.
Right? And Kemp, who wasn't a denier. And so Warnock's going to win. That's my prediction. And that means that the Senate will end up with 2 votes. We'll see what happens in Nevada. We can talk about the Arizona governor's race, too. That's a blast.
So you would say that in Georgia it was sort of like an Independence Day.
That's a good point.
Because all the independents.
I see you're reaching toward clever, and I admire you're trying.
Yeah. Well, I love that because I was super skeptical. Pessimistic, skeptical that if my motivation is to get the Republican agenda passed at the federal level, I want a doofus fuck like Herschel Walker to be there. Just like being like, yeah, okay, whatever you guys tell me to vote, I'll vote that. Just voting, without thinking, because he's not a great thinker, it seems like. And if I want the Republicans in charge of Congress to have as many votes as they can, I would vote for a dumbass, even though he's a hypocrite, whatever. And bless these people that have a soul and a sense of right and wrong, that can see that this minister guy that's probably going to vote more straight Democrat, which is, if I'm a Republican or if I lean Republican, that's going to be against me. But if Herschel Walker so disgusts me as a human that I'm willing to vote for the other person, then good on those people.
Well, and what's interesting about this is that you can estimate the number of Republicans. All you got to do is look at the difference in the vote count between Brian Kemp and Herschel Walker, and if that's 30,000 or 40,000 or 10,000, it doesn't really matter. It's all the number's the number. But that's the number of Republicans who voted in Georgia. You got to pull a lever, and you don't there's no straight party. You got so they went Republican Kemp. They went maybe skipped Walker or voted for the independent.
Right.
Maybe they voted for Warner, but then they went Republican all the way down the line.
You have to make a decision
on every single one. Walker may be the only one. Right,
I love it.
And so they're in a lot of that may be young people who say, don't fucking lie to me. Kemp wasn't a denier.
It don't smell like Chinese over here. So if the Chinese air is over here.
Oh, some of the stuff Walker has said, and the close of his campaign, he never apologized for his.
People like that don't apologize.
His abortions, but he did start talking about redemption, and it had a favorable impact. But here's the thing: is that there are a number of Republicans who like Kemp at the top of the ticket, and they said, you know what? I hate fucking Democrats. And Herschel Walker's kind of a dumbass, but you know what? We need some normal dumbass people, and I'm never going to vote for Democrat.
Right.
They voted for Herschel Walker in fucking droves.
Sure.
In droves. Now, are they going to come out again on December 6th? Are they going to do that again? Here's the
exactly.
thing.
Exactly. That's a great point.
The people who are motivated, right? The people who are motivated are the people who give a shit about truth to some degree. And because Trump stayed away, can you imagine that Trump will not stay away? There's only one, assuming things happen the way they seem to be happening. There's only one runoff in the whole United States. It's 2 months. That's where all the news is going to be. Do you think that Trump doesn't want to show up in Georgia, even though he's got negative ratings?
Well, but because that's the only runoff, I think Fox News is going to be trying their best to motivate all those people that are never Democrat to show up. So,
well, I'm not sure what the temperature of Fox News is, but I know I've seen some news that they have said many things across the different shows very favorable to Ron DeSantis. And there's an awful lot of Republican pundits. If you want to look at a clip that's interesting, look at the guy who won the lieutenant governor's, who's a lieutenant governor. What state? Shit.
Ohio.
Ohio. You're right. How'd you know? Did you look it up already?
I pulled a state out of my ass.
Oh, okay. Well, it was Ohio, lieutenant governor. And what he said was, look, Donald Trump needs to be in the rearview mirror. The people who are true conservative Republicans have had enough of the circus. And we want to move on. The reason that Warnock could become the next senator is because the candidate that Donald Trump picked, Herschel Walker, personally called him, is such a flawed candidate that we very well could lose that. We want to see Donald Trump in the rearview mirror.
Huh. I mean, I prefer him with his stupid quips in the history books, but we'll see.
Well, it was a Republican ripple, and here's the thing: you hear all this shit about Biden and his favorables are so bad. Well, his favorables are 46%. His favorables were 36%. They went up, and one of the reasons they went up is because he made the case, along with just a few people that people like a whole lot more than him, like Barack Obama and Oprah Winfrey and on and on and on.
Yep.
Right? They make these points and suddenly Biden goes up, up, up. Well, here's the line in the sand on negatives. The president in the biggest upset in the midterm elections, who might have been Clinton, I don't know, his favorable rating was 35%.
Right.
This is 11 points higher than that. He's not far off from 50%, which is unheard of in a midterm.
Right.
And so that was the other thing that predictors didn't quite get. Is people said, I'm not voting because of fucking Biden, and I'm not voting because of Trump, for that matter.
I have a question. You mentioned that Oprah has been helping the Democrats. Was she actively against Dr. Oz, who she basically platformed
his career?
Yeah, exactly. She gave him everything.
Well,
hold on. I listened to a really in-depth podcast talking about Dr. Oz and his career, and apparently he was one of the most respected surgeons. I don't know if it was brain surgery, but he was known as being really innovative and just a really smart clever person that all the other surgeons wished they were him, because like he was just so good, and like all the surgeons at the hospital that he worked at, if you asked them if you had to go into surgery, who would you want? They would be like, this Oz guy. He was a really, really smart person.
And what's his motivation for doing this?
And then I think he got in. I think he might have met a woman that was into the frou-frou medicine stuff, and started dabbling in all this like vitamin supplement stuff, and just got taken away into that world.
It's so much more money if you're a surgeon and really good at it. What are you making? 600,000 a year? Or?
Yeah, but his claim when he was putting all of this crap out on Oprah's show, and she ate that shit up too. She's guilty of a lot of unvaccinated children's deaths, in my opinion. She was very anti-vax and
I didn't know
caused trouble. Yes, but she platformed Dr. Oz among others, and his shtick was always, "Hey, I'm telling you about the benefits of this bark extract that makes you thin and pretty," but then like he himself was not selling that. Like as soon as he went on the program, all of this industry followed him around and were selling whatever the next thing he said was. But there's no way he didn't make a whole shitload of money that way somehow.
Like steelhead waiting for the female salmon to drop the eggs and feeding them.
That's such a callback. Yes. So one of the most amazing poll result that I've seen from this election so far, I got this from Fox News. In Tennessee, there was an amendment to the Constitution, a ballot initiative or something, where they were like, "Okay, guys, should we prohibit slavery?" And they put this up for a referendum, and 80% of people said yes, we should prohibit slavery. But 316,973 people voted no. It's like, what the fuck, Tennessee?
So what do you mean it was prohibiting slavery?
Right, exactly. What's reported is prohibit slavery. As you and I know, there's a lot of forms of slavery that occur in the criminal justice system that I don't know if that's related to what this was. But as far as I know, what was on the ballot was prohibit slavery.
Well, it couldn't have been on the. I don't imagine it would be on the ballot if it got in the way of the 13th Amendment to the Constitution. You can't a state ballot. I suppose a state ballot, if it gets enough signatures, can talk about turning fucking green and growing fins.
So here's a news story. Tennessee voters officially ban all forms of slavery in the state. They approved a ballot measure that removes language allowing slavery and involuntary servitude as forms of punishment for those convicted of crimes. So it does go to criminal justice.
Oh my God. That means that the penny a day,
right,
or the non-payment of the penny a day, that's very expensive. I mean, I'm thrilled to hear it. I'm going to have to check it out more closely.
Yeah, so I will send you. Well, there's not much in this article, but the actual. So the measure amended Article 1, Section 33 of the Tennessee Constitution, which states slavery and involuntary servitude are forever prohibited in this state, except as punishment for a person who's been duly convicted of a crime. The new amendment removes the language allowing for these punishments. The section will now read, slavery and involuntary servitude are forever prohibited. Nothing in this section shall prohibit an inmate from working when the inmate has been duly convicted of a crime. So you're allowing inmates to work, but you, I guess, are whatever non-slavery means, you have to pay them something. But what that actually boils down to is
that loophole is going to be tested.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a hell of a headline that like Tennessee banned slavery. It's like, good job, guys. But so tell me about some of these other races, because you're dying to.
The Arizona governor's race, too early to call, where one of the biggest, most prominent deniers, Carrie Lake, running for governor, when asked whether she would concede the election if she lost, she said repeatedly, I will win the election, and when I win, I will agree that I won. And they're neck and neck with votes to be counted. And she's also in Arizona, another race that yet to be figured as the Secretary of State, where the guy who is running, the denier, said that he thinks that there weren't any votes for Biden in Arizona because he's never talked to anybody who ever voted for Biden. And one might think that he has a fairly close-knit social community.
Yeah. I for the longest time never met a Trump supporter. It's like,
oh God, well, I have.
So yeah, that's you'd think, like, I guess the writers of the Constitution were just, there was just such a gentleman's agreement honor culture that it never occurred to them that when they said the requirements for running for office are you have to be this old, back then you have to be this gender, and you have to be this color, and you have to agree that if the votes go against you that you lost. It's like that's like saying that's like having people when they go to play at Wimbledon promise that they will respect the score at the end of each match. Yeah, it's like dude,
it goes without saying, right?
It should go without saying until you get such children in here. Like everyone's, you've been spending enough time on the playground recently. Like you've seen children that are like, that change the rules when they lose. They're like, yeah, well, actually, we were trying to get the fewest number of those, so I won. It's just so, it's so sad. Yeah. Like it makes me, I don't know, the empathetic liberal in me wants to be like, man, who hurt you to make you this much of an asshole?
Yeah, well, and the Kevin McCarthy, here's the thing that's worth a little bit of your homework, is that the great movie, The Circus, the greatest political show on earth.
Not the movie, the TV show that you watch on Showtime?
Yeah, it's Showtime. But anyway, they did an episode on Marjorie Taylor Greene, and one of her ads shows her with this fucking weapon that must be a bazooka. And she uses the bazooka and blows up a car that explodes like anything you've ever imagined.
Cool.
And said, and the ad says, it's time to end the Republican reign, or something to that effect.
Democratic reign.
She has raised in her little northwest Georgia community that's rural, she has raised more money nationally than any other freshman, I think, in the history of the House. And because of that, because she can distribute money, she's able to get her colleagues that she can give money to get the voters who are in their district, but the Trump base,
right,
actively supporting Taylor Greene and making them, although they wish they didn't have to, making them support her because their constituents have spoken. They're behind her. Kevin McCarthy recognizes this and has her prominently moved her so that when you see pictures of McCarthy speaking and big national moments, Taylor Greene's right behind him. And he realizes that it's money, 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 money. And the circus interviews her, and she says that. She says, it's about money. I can raise all sorts of money.
And she's living up to her name. She's bringing the green.
That's actually the name of the episode. It's Greenland. This is now in the chamber that has what? 150 people who are deniers and now controlled by the Republicans. The fact that they didn't win 63 seats and maybe they're going to end up with a majority of 6 or 8, it doesn't much matter. It's enough for us to be, if anybody cares to watch, which Democrats won't, nothing but impeachment hearings. They may end up with an impeachment hearing that takes all 7 resolutions, combines them, and they go through all of the rigmarole. And so that Biden's been impeached, and they're going to do it at least twice, maybe even 3 times, so that Trump is no longer the president who's been impeached more than any other president at 2. He's been impeached in the House twice. Well, their goal is to impeach Biden 3 times so that now he holds the record.
It's such a fucking playground bullshit. There's nothing.
It's so much money, too. It's so much money. The money that they're getting paid, the money that it takes to run the whole shit show is just, it's fucking amazing. It's our taxes.
There's nothing about serving the people or making the world a better place or anything. It's all just this playground bullying.
Let me ask you this. The Republican platform. When you Google the Democratic Party platform, you will see in 2022 what the Democrats adopted as their platform. And it's not like what you would expect the Democrats to have in their platform. It's huge. Sure. Do the same thing for the Republican Party 2022 platform and see what it says. 2022 or 2021 Republican Party platform. That may be either year or both years. We'll try both years.
I get GOP.com/aboutourparty. Who we are.
But no, let's find their platform.
Well, yeah, but my first hit was actually relevant, like about our party, except it isn't relevant because all they say is, we abolish slavery, blah, blah, Republican Party. We've always stood for freedom and prosperity and opportunity. Today, as those principles come under attack from the far left.
So the Republican Party in 2020, the last time they had a Republican convention for a platform, they adopted no policy platform. Instead, indicated that their platform was they would support Donald Trump. And they have not replaced that since then. So unlike the Democrats, there is no platform. So what does the Republican Party stand for? What is it that they're, when you say, hey, we want you to vote for us, why? What will you do? No. It isn't about what we'll do. It's against the Democrats, and it's about Donald Trump. Trust us.
So when I searched for Democratic Party platform, the search result came back with democrats.org/where we stand/party platform. And I click on that, and there's a problem with their caching server in Madrid that makes it so that I can't actually see the contents of the page.
Democrats shooting themselves in the foot.
Jesus Christ. Not that they need to advertise to anyone in Spain, but I mean.
So I want to switch gears. I want to tell you that sometime, it may not be this evening as we're having such fun here. Circle back to the Ethan Hawke, and another update on how it actually has changed my life in some very positive ways. But my question for you next,
yes,
is I understand that you did some homework, which, let the record reflect, you sometimes do and sometimes don't. And often when you don't, you become churlish. But
yes.
This time you have. And so let's talk about it. What did you watch that was required viewing?
I watched a thing that we talked about. I don't know that you've seen it. You mentioned that it was a thing that you saw advertised. I watched the Nicolas Cage movie about the overwhelming burden of being talented, or whatever it is.
Oh, shit. Well, I haven't seen it, but I will. So tell me what's your
unbearable weight of massive talent.
What's your review?
I think we can both, understand where he's coming from.
Oh, God. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I think you probably no.
Yeah. So it's a light-hearted comedy about starring himself as himself, where he feels sort of washed up and he's not getting the roles that he wants, and I forget exactly how this happened, but he got sent off to an island in Spain, which was, to me, very obviously not Spain. It was shot in Croatia, but so first of all, he's at home in LA, and he's not happy with his career, and it's his daughter's 16th birthday, and he barely shows up for her 16th birthday. And when he does, he drinks a bunch of whiskey and sits down at the piano and invents a bullshit drunken song about how much he loves his daughter, and just basically embarrasses everyone. And then he, for some reason, I got up to get a drink or something during that part. He ends up in this island in Spain, and he's there to meet some important person there, and it ends up that he becomes fast friends with this super rich guy and with this huge mansion and stuff in Spain, and then he gets contacted by the CIA, who tell him that his best friend, his new best friend, is actually like a horrible arms dealer. And the whole it's one of these, the genre of not a spy gets inducted to have to do spy things. Like there's 1,000 movies like that.
Yeah.
So it's basically one of those, but it's all self.
Is it good?
It's all self-referential. It's entertaining.
1 to 10. 1 out of 10.
If you want a fun thing to sit down and watch, it's a 6 or 7. It's not. If
you really like Nicolas Cage,
it's not a classic. Yeah, exactly.
It's worth seeing.
I looked it up. It cost $30 million and made $29.5 million. So
there There you go.
break even.
It's almost a wash, but
Right.
that doesn't count the video sales that'll happen later.
Right, exactly. So it's entertaining. It's got all the typical
Right.
it's like it's tongue in cheek making fun of that kind of movie as being that kind of movie, and like the characters in the movie are writing the kind of movie that they're making.
Yeah, right.
And
right.
it's one of those like wink wink, we know how shitty this movie is, that's why it's funny.
Have you on the note of viewing pleasure, have you been able to go any further with The Affair?
I made it like one other episode, but I have not had a lot of time.
And what was the episode?
I'm still on like episode 6 or something. It's not. I haven't advanced very far, but
he's in The Affair. They're madly, sexually involved.
Yes, there's
it's still
a lot of lust
that stuff on the island. Has he started his book yet?
He tells a lot of people that he has, but I don't know how much actual like pages have been written.
Okay,
it's at that point.
All right, understood. No spoilers then.
When I was looking up, you mentioned some interviews where you could hear their lovely British accents, and I looked up some of those for the show notes for last episode, and I got an interview with the both of them, and Ruth was saying how that first season I thought my character needed to be like she was escaping something, and I was like, I'm going to turn this off now because I don't want her to tell me what her character's arc was. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I might have, in theory, I'm going to have some more free time in this coming week to actually.
Why is that?
Well, because I'm leaving my family for a week. And
or have they left you? Honestly, I mean, you could.
Well,
they've had enough of your
location
shit.
is relative, isn't it?
Again, they had enough of your shit again.
Yeah. So I am going to London for a week. England.
Why?
There's a conference at the end of the week, but I've got
your company paying you to go, or you must be business.
The conference is paying for me to travel and for a little bit of my stay, but then I've got friends to crash with.
And you're speaking then?
I'm going to speak for
cool.
Yeah. So, and then I'm going to basically work from there, like work in cyber cafes as they used to be called, which is now like literally anywhere.
Were you able to download more than the first year?
I have all of it downloaded.
Oh man!
So
that's 62 hours.
I'm not going to spend all. I'm not going to.
No.
Ignore.
I remember I had COVID.
Yeah.
And then my wife had COVID, so I was isolated and then isolated again.
So I'm going to do my wanderings around, Covent Garden and Hyde Park.
So
and
I've got a pleasant upcoming thing that we can talk about next.
But it means that probably next week we're not recording. So.
Oh well, sadly. And it is what it is. I am on my way. It
is foretold.
Friday morning to shout out to the Muskegon River Inn in Newaygo. And as you know from prior episodes, of course, one of my favorite watering holes after I fished the Pierre Marquette is the Newaygo Brewing Company.
Newaygo.
That
sounds very Spanish.
The river runs through it.
Hasta Nuevo.
It's the Muskegon River.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a bed and breakfast right kitty corner or so from the brewery, and a great cafe that's got great beer and great food. And, of course, it's all about coffee and different food offerings. And then there's a great place that dispenses clothing and jewelry from artisans and other stakeholders from across the community. That's 2 stories of little cubby after little cubby of stuff that people are trying to sell. You could spend 2 hours in there. There's a bookstore right downtown. And anyway, the idea was, well, the bed and breakfast, which is cute and quaint and gorgeous, and just all flowers. My better half, I drop her off downtown. She goes to cafe. I run an hour north, go fishing at the Pierre Marquette for the steelhead run is still on. And I show up later. She thinks 4. I tell her 4, but my plan is more like 2:33. But I never, you got to hold back, right? You know what I'm saying? And
I mean, is that to have a couple beers before you meet up with her, or what?
What's that?
Is that to have a couple beers before you meet up with her?
No, not so much that, but it's better to say a certain time than be early than to say an earlier time and potentially be late.
A fucking man. I love that. That is a thing that...
it'll be about 4:00.
I'm the only one in my family that does that.
For early check-in at, not the B&B, and not an Airbnb, which there were many choices, but at the Muskegon River Inn, which is a refurbished brick building on the river that has many restored rooms. They all look quite spacious and all, sandblasted brick walls and new, bathrooms and beautiful oak floors and whatnot. We've rented a room there, and when I return from fishing, we'll spend the night, go to the brewery, eat, etc. And then north we're going, and I've dropped the hint on this so it's very clear. Whenever we leave, I'm in no hurry. If checkout's at 11, we don't leave till 11 because we're going to love our room. And at some point, an hour and a half later, is the Betsy River, which is equally famous. Not equal, almost as famous as the Pierre Marquette, which I haven't fished in years and years and years because it's another 45 minutes from the Pierre Marquette. And it's like, well, I'm already driving 2.5 hours there and then 2.5 hours back. So I'm going to the Betsy. And then from there, we don't know where we're going. We're going to stay somewhere, but we don't know where yet. And it's an adventure. So it's going to be great fun. And I'm working a job now, a construction job, restoring a woman's rotted windows that will completely pay for the trip. And so it's great to be able to do the quid pro quo thing, right? I do the job, we got the money, give me cash. We go, we spend the money. What could be better?
That's what money's for, man.
What could be better?
You got to do the work and then you spend it, man. That's what it's for. We hopefully when I return from London, we'll have fucking sofas because we still remain sofaless.
Well, I'll tell you, and that'll be it continues to be a fascinating ongoing story about your furniture. I love it. I can't wait. I'll be there someday. I'll be there. Hey,
we did get the TV fixed. Remember last?
Oh, I saw the picture. Oh, I sent you. You got to post that.
I sent you a photo of So these 2 guys come and they come with this special little stand that folds out that's exactly made for putting a TV on, and they unhook the TV off the wall and they lay it down on there, and damn if it isn't like the perfect size for like a dining room table. And it occurred to me, what a crazy ass dining room table it would be to have a TV face up with like a more sturdy glass on it that you could just like change the color of your table at any time. Could you watch it? Well, you not really watch it. Hey, how about flames? Or you could program, whatever, whoever's place was each place. Like they already have. I've seen some fancy restaurants where they have projectors above where you sit, and they do little animations, so it looks like there's a little dude running around your plate, and then he jumps into the mashed potatoes or whatever. 3D. it's not 3D, it's projected from above, but like it's on your bowl, and it looks like the guy jumps into your potatoes or whatever.
That's funny.
But to
Hey,
have
man, get the fuck out of my potatoes, man.
it's like, yeah, exactly, right? So anyway, they took it down and they took the whole fucking back off, and they replaced a circuit board and another thing that was the receiver for the Bluetooth and the infrared. They replaced both of those, and then it took them a really long time to get the damn thing back on the wall. First of all, the cord to plug in. So I think I mentioned before, modern Samsung TVs now, the actual, like, it's like an old PC computer. The actual brains of the TV are in a box that are not part of the screen. And so you can hang the screen on your wall, and then there's just a single cable going down to the box where you plug in all your HDMI crap.
Yeah.
But the cable to plug in the TV, like, they couldn't just hold it up and plug it in. Like, they had to actually get the damn thing back on the wall just to test if their circuit board worked. Anyway, it was a big hassle, and
it's fixed.
And the long and the short of it is that it's fixed. They left it slightly crooked, but I was able to figure out with my crazy handyman skills how to straighten it.
Well, a great story to end our evening. It's been wonderful. Tell me what we have in store. We're going to go 2 weeks from now.
Yes, I believe so. So we're going to skip next week, and then I'll be back with stories from
London, England.
Ye olde London town.
And I will have stories from the PM, and also let's put on the agenda the Ethan Hawke follow-up. Wonderful stuff.
You don't have time to run into that right now? You got to go.
Well, let me just say this.
Just organize your thoughts.
What Ethan Hawke says, when you cut right down to it and say, all right, so I got all this, I understand all this, I believe all this, so what is it, what am I supposed to do? What do you want? Tell me, what should I do? And the answer is twofold. One is open yourself up for whatever comes your way.
Right.
And if you want stuff to happen that comes your way, you got to welcome it. You got to change your narrative. You can't be, oh no, this is hard, or COVID has ruined it, or negative this, or blame that. You've got to say, this is what I want to have happen. Because what he basically says is, look, magic is simple. You just imagine what you want and then you make it happen. That magic is creativity. And so I'm going to, we'll save this for another time, but I want to run through how that mindset has changed directions in my life in some ways that you might not even be able to imagine.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Well, tune in next time.
I know.
As they say in Britain, a fortnight from now. Okay, that's it for episode number 166. Wow, what a lot of politics. You can find the show notes, including some of the links to some of these things that we talked about, at happyhour.fm/166. You can help support the show at patreon.com/happyhour. If you give it the gin martinis level, you can actually watch videos of us doing this nonsense. See you in 2 weeks.